Hey Reefers! I'm Kelly, or on YouTube I'm known as the Seahorse Whisperer. And first off, I want to thank Richard from Aficionado and from reefs.com for inviting me to share my tanks with you. Obviously I'm into seahorses, so I will go through my seahorse tanks. I have many. I actually breed seahorses too. So I'll show you a little bit about what I do here. And behind me, you're going to see the macro algae tank that was featured in the Reef Hobbyist magazine. And then I will share the little secret that I don't show very often on YouTube. I actually have a reef tank also. It has been running for at least 4 or 5 years. I'd have to look it up. But I had excellent help setting up. I got great advice and mentors. And I'll show you the tank, show you some of the corals that I keep, and tell you how I keep it running so efficiently, even though I'm a lazy reefer just like the inappropriate reefer. We have a lot in common. I'm probably worse. I do less water changes. But let's get to my tank, shall we? I've always liked a challenge, and so of course, my tank is a mixed reef. It's a 55-gallon tank with a 40-gallon breeder sump, and the tank sports everything from SPS to LPS to softies and pretty much everything in between. There are probably 5 million ways to do a reef tank the right way. When my tank first started, the first year of my tank in fact, it was a mess. Cyano, dinos, it was a cocktail of yuckies. Any problem you can imagine, I had it. I got extremely lucky. I met Cruz Arias, who became my mentor. He helped me fix things. We used many different methods, and it was all based on my tank. And then he put me on a regimen that works for my tank. My regimen includes fusion every night. I will literally dose the fusion. And then I wait 60 minutes and then I dose the calcium. Once a month, I dose bacteria. I also test. So if that's not cutting it and I need more magnesium, I have it. I use Coral Care. I've got Powerhead 1 and Powerhead 2 hidden behind this thing. And then I actually also have a Powerhead in the very back that kind of blows the sand to make sure there's no debris getting caught up. The two main Powerheads are the RW8 series by Jabeo. They provide great surface agitation and keep my tank moving. Unfortunately, my tank's not drilled. Like I said, when I started, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't even honestly know I was going to do a reef. So the overflow box has worked, and actually I'm living proof that you can do a beautiful reef tank that doesn't require much maintenance with a regular tank. So yay! Because of the tank size, I had to settle for smaller fish. but my two clowns are certainly adorable and they're an anemone. In addition, I have a Fiji damsel, a 6-line wrasse, a Cory wrasse that's not feeling like making an appearance, and of course a major cleanup crew. I'm more about the coral than the fish, so enjoy my princess cup here. But I basically worry more about making sure the corals get what they need, zooplankton, phytoplankton, that kind of stuff, than the fish. I mean, I feed the fish too, but yeah. Alright, pouring a little, letting it blow around. I typically put this in. The fact that the wave makers will shut off for feeding for 10 minutes is awesome, because I can turn the flow down and keep the return running, and then there's not as much flow. You can see the toadstool is no longer moving, and the coral can actually grab all the zooplankton and phytoplankton that I've added to the tank. And then the wave makers come back on by themselves, so there's no worry that Miss Lazy will forget. I target feed all the anemones. The fish try to steal it all. But with my reef tank, basically most of the work happens in the sump. The sump has the sock that catches everything starting off, the skimmer, the refugium, the miracle mud, and the macros. That's what I use in all of my tanks, basically. Ready to see what's beneath the hood? So the water feeds directly into the sock and then hits the skimmer. The pump is in the middle part you can't see, but is teed off so that some water returns to the tank and the rest goes to the refugium. The trace minerals and other benefits of miracle mud, along with the algae, are what truly make my tank work. The anaerobic bacteria living in the miracle mud turn nitrate into nitrogen gas, so I have to do less water changes. And the reverse light cycle helps keep my pH stay stable. Truly, the refugium is the most important part of my reef tank. So, on to the seahorses. I have multiple different seahorse tanks and very different setups. I've got everything from hob filters to sumps. I do prefer sumps, but I've got the same basic equipment in each system. In fact, it's the same equipment I have in my reef. So here's a peek at my seahorse tanks. I currently have 4 species in 6 running tanks with 2 fry tub systems, a grow out build in progress, all using the same equipment. I cycle my own dry rock to avoid hitchhikers and use man-made rock by Rock Hard Reefs in my ERECTUS display. In bare tanks, I use K1 media or Brightwell bricks and always have a skimmer on every system. Each tank is run through a UV sterilizer, and then of course I use macroalgae in either a display setting or refugium or scrubber in the sump. In grow out or quarantine tanks in which I don't use macros, you'll find fake plants or chains that I use as hitches. All of my power heads and intakes are always covered. And here's a little peek at my tanks. My ERECTUS display is the tank that I show most often and most people will recognize. This tank has macros in the display and 2 RW4s for flow. The sump has an algae scrubber, skimmer, and UV, along with a DCS 5000 pump. The ERECTUS display obviously has my oldest and biggest ERECTUS. And my ERECTUS REIDI hybrids ended up joining them. The BARBOURI seahorses are my absolute favorite, and so I just could not quarantine macros long enough to make myself feel better about adding them. So this tank is dry, pre-cycled rock with fake plants. A canister with spray bar and a small power head near the back provide flow and eliminate dead spots. The tank also has a hob filter just as backup because I don't like canister filters on Seahorse tanks very much. I currently have one REIDI tank, and we'll be starting up a second very soon. The current tank is a 29 gallon, and I use fake plants in addition to macros. And I'm testing out an air-driven skimmer in this tank, but there's also a hob filter and an internal filter with spray bar to help with flow and filtration. And as soon as the macros started growing, the fake plants had to go. I do plan to add a sump and actually do it on video for you guys to see, but I wanted to see how well the hob performed. My PIEBALD tank is the newest and is set up very much like a quarantine tank. Pretty boring, but they'll be upgraded soon. And man, they are just so adorable. So it's really cool to be able to find them and see them easily. And then of course, there's the 90 SCA cube, which I use as a grow out tank. This tank has a sump with skimmer, K1, Brightwell bricks, and the biggest UV sterilizer I've ever seen. I actually made a cute little DIY floss tray too. And another DCS 5000 pump. Keeps it all running. I've played with multiple different types of fry tanks, anything from macro tanks to smaller tanks with plastic hitches, and finally I've upgraded to the more commercial type tubs and multi-tank systems. Thank you so much to Richard, reefs.com, and Aficionado for allowing me to share my tanks with you. I hope to see yours. Get that camera out and become part of this YouTube Reefer Challenge. This is what it's all about, guys. Sharing with each other, helping each other, and building amazing reef tanks. Have a great day. See you soon.